Come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter how you came here, if you came alone or with others, you are welcome here. No matter who you love or how you speak or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes, you are welcome here. If you come with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, then you are indeed welcome here. Welcome to the Presbyterian Universalist Church of New Orleans, one of three congregations in the greater New Orleans area. Together we are the Greater New Orleans Unitarian Universalists, or the UU. This congregation has gathered in love since 1833 to seek holiness and work for justice in the world. I am Aubrey Anderson, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And if you are a visitor, we invite you to raise your hand so that we may greet you. We are a lay church charged with the mission to offer joyful, mind-expanding worship services, provide opportunities for fellowship and spiritual development for children, youth, and adults, promote social change, and inspire service to the greater community. On Sunday mornings, we aspire to fulfill that mission by inviting UU ministers, other religious professionals, and leaders from community organizations working for social justice, as well as our own members, to be voices of hope, courage, and spiritual or intellectual transformation from our pulpit. Providing that voice today is Abel Thompson, who is an organizer for Together New Orleans, a fellow Unitarian Universalist, and has been working with our congregation over the last few months around strategy to develop our relationship and commitments to one another. So welcome, Abel. A reminder that all the words and lyrics for your chalice lighting, readings, and hymns are available by aiming your smartphone camera at the QR codes on the cards tucked on the backs of the chairs. I hope I can get a testimonial from someone who's used them. I see two people who use them. And so they can hear. If you prefer not to shuffle between the books. I'll remind you that next Sunday is a red reunion, and anyone who wishes are welcome to bring red that has a special meaning to you to share, but you can also come without bringing your own red. There'll be plenty of red. We are also just a few weeks away from our biggest fundraiser of the year, Christmas tree sale. There'll be a sign-up sheet at the back table during coffee hour, as Kathy waiting. So please sign up for one of our most fun fundraisers as well. It's a great chance to get to know people in the congregation we haven't gotten to spend time with before. And now I'd like to ask Gia Rogers to come forward. She's going to share our stewardship moment.
So everyone, I want to say a little bit about why I continually invest in this church. It took me a while to get around to making a serious investment in the church. I've been a UU my whole life. My parents probably served in every single office that there was. Multiple times over the years, and I watched them. I knew what they were, they talked to me about what they were doing. My mother won a bumper sticker contest, which was one of the things that they devoted the entire service to one year. They put all these bumper stickers that they had ideas for up on the wall, and my mother won the contest. You probably have heard of this bumper sticker. It said, "To question is the answer." And that was a gift that she gave me that has stuck with me my whole life. And I love it when I see it occasionally. We still have mountains and mountains of little slips where people sent in things from the cutouts from the World magazine, where people had actually sent in, because that was in the day when you didn't do something on the internet. You had to cut a little thing out of the World magazine and send it in. But we got them from hundreds and hundreds of churches. And that was an example of my mother thinking up one more thing to help her church raise money. And I wasn't really aware how much they pledged until I was going through their old church records at that time. And I started to realize that my parents always made a pledge, and that over the years they upped their pledge. They made the church a greater and greater investment. And so now I'm 62 years old, and I'm on Social Security. I make about $2,000 a month, and I've decided to up my pledge to $100 a month, which is about 5% of my income. And I'm a little scared. It's just but the whole thing about give until it feels good feels like a real challenge to me. Can I focus on this congregation is worth my effort, helping to make sure that we pay our dues at Together New Orleans, and that we pay our staff, that we meet what we need to around this building, as long as we have a building, and that when if the moment comes when we sell this building, we are able to move on to the next place, wherever that may be. To me, all of those things, not only do I follow in my parents' footsteps, but I follow in the footsteps of millions of random Unitarians who've made the same pledge to themselves and to the future, that having a church like this church matters. And that to me, knowing that that this congregation and congregations like it, like the Community Church and North Shore and all the churches all over this country, that they matter because we hold out a place for people who would not otherwise have a place to meet, and not only Unitarians, but we hold out a place for people who would not otherwise have a place to meet and to work together, and that is something I'm enormously proud of. So that's why I continue to work to build up this church.
Thank you so much, Judea. So it will all please rise in the body of spirit and join me as we read our cultural awareness amendments and then our child's life. You'll find the cultural awareness amendments at the QR code or the chat code here. I'll be ready to launch and you'll respond with your child's messages. We gather today at a crossroads
on the land of Choctaw called Olancha,
the place of many tongues.
a place we call home.
But we are newcomers to this land.
While native peoples are of this land, the Caddo, the Natchez, the Choctaw, Chinacha, and Homa, Judah, Wapsi, Atakapaisha, and more.
Know that we gather
On the land
Stolen,
the spoils of colonialism and broken treaties,
of forced removal, genocide.
acknowledging this history is just the first step.
We must set ourselves to the task to prepare.
Where we have harmed,
We seek to heal.
where we have taken,
We seek to give.
where we have disparaged,
We seek to honor.
just as the flame of our chalice,
Lights our way to beloved community.
we add life-giving water to her.
To recall the land's native roots and to nurture our solidarity.
Only when we strive to make amends,
Do we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of each person?
please remain who you are as we light the chalice of our heritage. And join me in reading the words in number 488 in your great hymnal.
448.
448. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
Please remain as you are and join in singing our opening hymn, number 1017 in your teal-colored hymnal, Building a New Way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working. Working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. be seated.
Edie Wolf, who's going to share our time for all ages.
If there's anyone young or young at heart or consider yourselves young, you may come join me. But otherwise, I can just do it on my own here. So Margot asked me to read the children's book today, and it's a book that was created by the Greater New Orleans Fair Housing Action Center through a bunch of workshops with educators, with children, and with activists. So this is the book that came out of these workshops called The Fair Housing 5 and The Haunted House. And it's too bad none of our tweens are here. This is a perfect tween book. So, but we are tween free today. Okay, I don't think this is the first page. It's kind of a long one, so settle in. Hi, my name is Samaria, and I'm in the 5th grade. You want to hold this for me? It's a lot of page turning. These are my friends. There's a photo of various different, an image of various different types of children of all abilities, ethnicities, and races. That's me describing it. These are my friends. The 5 of us like spending time together because we have a lot in common. Ricardo and James like sports. Chelsea and Layla like to draw. James and I like to play music. The 5 of us also like spending time together because we are different in a lot of ways. We have different religions. We eat different food. We have different ways of moving around. This is our clubhouse. It shows a very typical treehouse building. We built it ourselves under an old oak tree. We come here after school to do our homework and play. I like everything about our clubhouse, but it wasn't always that way. Once upon a time, there was a big empty house across the street from the clubhouse, and we didn't like that at all. A for rent sign sat out front, but nobody ever moved in. When people visited the house, they always left quickly, looking troubled. Every night, a single lamp glowed through an upstairs window, and when it was windy out, the big iron gate would rattle and shake. We were sure that this house was haunted. One night I came home and I found my mother at the kitchen table with the newspaper spread out in front of her. "What's going on?" I asked. She smiled. "It's time for us to move into a new apartment. Why don't you help me look?" I sat down next to her. There were lots of houses listed on the page. Together we looked at them one by one. My mom was thinking about grown-up things. "We need a place that's closer to your school and my office, and it needs to be at a price we can afford," she said. I was thinking about kids' things. "I want my own bedroom, and I want to live close to my friends," I said. Well, finally we found the perfect place. It had 2 bedrooms, one for my mom, one for me. It was near the school, not too far from my mom's work. There was a grocery store down the street and a bus stop on the corner, and the best part was that it was right across the street from my clubhouse. I looked closer. You guessed it. The picture in the paper was the haunted house. The next day, we went to see the apartment after school. I was afraid. My mom didn't know that the house was haunted. I gripped her hand as we passed the clanging iron gate. I closed my eyes tight when she rang the doorbell. I heard heavy steps, the sound of a lock, the creak of a door. "Hi, you here to look at the apartment?" I opened my eyes. It wasn't a ghost or a monster or a vampire that stood before us. It was just a regular man. And behind him was a very nice house. "Hello," my mother said. "This is my daughter, Samaria." The man's smile vanished instantly. "Oh, I'm sorry," he said. I don't rent a family with children." And he shut the door. "With children." My mother shook her head. "Well, I guess we have to keep looking." That night I couldn't sleep. I felt confused. Why didn't the landlord want to rent to a family with kids? Had I done something wrong? I felt sad. The house was perfect for us, especially now that I knew it wasn't haunted. What if other landlords turned us away? What would we do if we couldn't find a place to live? The next day I told my friends what was happening. "It just doesn't seem fair," Chelsea said, frowning. "And why wouldn't someone want to rent to a family with kids in the first place?" added Layla. "Having kids in the neighborhood is good for everyone. Without kids, who would organize kickball games in the park? Who would set up a lemonade stand on hot days?" That gave me an idea. "This calls for a top secret investigation," I said. "We want to know if the landlord is turning away other families. So let's set up a lemonade stand in front of the clubhouse on Saturday." I don't know pickings. We'll use it to spy on the house from across the street. And that is exactly what we did. Saturday morning was quiet. I counted 2 dog walkers, 3 morning joggers, but not one person came in or out of the house across the street. But all of a sudden, a car pulled up in front, and a woman got out with a kid about our age and a baby. We saw her disappear into the house. I wasn't surprised when a few minutes later, she came out with a frown on her face. "Are you going to move into the house?" I asked. "No, I'm not moving in," the woman said. "The landlord doesn't want to rent to a family with kids. It's too bad because my son is about your age and you could be friends." I wanted to tell the woman that I knew how she felt, but I kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to give up our top secret investigation. 1 hour, 2 more dog walkers, and a fire engine later, a woman got off the bus on the corner and walked up to the house across the street. She didn't have any children with her. "Surely the landlord will rent to her," I whispered. But to my surprise, the woman was back out in the street in no time. Are you going to move into the house?" I asked. "No, I am not moving in," the woman huffed. "The landlord thought I would prefer to live in a neighborhood with more people like me." "What does that mean?" I asked, confused. The woman frowned. "I don't think he rents to black people." I looked around at my friends. All of us were different races. Why did that matter? 2 hours, 3 more joggers, and an ice cream truck later, a man walked up with his dog. This man was white, like the landlord, didn't have any kids with him. "Surely the landlord will rent to him," I whispered to my friends. I'm not whispering. I don't see that till after. But to my surprise, a couple minutes later, the man was back out on the sidewalk. "Are you going to move into the house?" I asked. "Nope, not moving in," the man shrugged, patted his dog. "I'm blind, and my guide dog helps me around, but the landlord says I'm not allowed to keep a dog in the house, so I can't live here." I thought about people I knew who needed certain things to get around because of their disabilities. Why should they be treated differently? Oh yeah, now that there's an actual child here. Here, do you see the house they're talking about? Why would the landlord turn away so many nice people just because of their race, ability, or the fact they had kids? Maybe he wants to keep a certain kind of people from moving into the neighborhood, James said. Well, that made me angry. That is not fair. It's our neighborhood too, I cried. After all, our clubhouse was across the street. On the way home, I thought about how my mom and I still didn't have a place to live. In school the next day, Ms. Butler was teaching a history lesson. Once, not too long ago, black people in our country couldn't live in certain neighborhoods just because of their race, she told us. Now, what are some reasons people choose to live where they do? I knew the answer to this question. My mom and I had just talked about it. Well, my mom and I need to live close to a school and her work, I said. And we need a place with 2 bedrooms that we can afford. Yes, said Mrs. Butler. Those are important things to think about when choosing a home. Now, what if someone took away your opportunity to choose? How would it feel if someone decided that a house wasn't right for you and your family just because of your race or religion, because your family has kids, or because you have a disability? I knew the answer to that question. I would feel sad and upset, I said, and things would be a lot harder for my family. Mrs. Butler explained that when someone takes away opportunities from a group of people just because of who they are, that's called discrimination. Discrimination makes life harder for a lot of families. Many brave people have fought to stop it. She told us how Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led marches into neighborhoods where black people were not welcome. The marchers were folks just like us who stood strong in the belief that discrimination is wrong, she said. Because of their courage, there are now rules against discrimination in housing. I snuck a glance at my friends. Suddenly, everything was making sense. I raised my hand. My mom and I tried to rent a house and the landlord told us he doesn't rent to families with kids, I said. Then I told her about our top secret investigation. When I was done, Ms. Butler smiled. Even though discrimination is against the rules, it still happens. When you get home from school, tell your mom to call the Fair Housing Center. They help people who are treated unfairly when they are looking for a home. I did just that. My mom called the Fair Housing Center, and they decided and they listened to our story. A week later, we got a call back. Using our investigation, the Fair Housing Center proved the landlord was discriminating. They were going to work with us and the landlord to make sure that my mom and I could move into the apartment. I couldn't wait to tell my story to Ms. Butler the next day. Thanks to the Fair Housing Center, we'll make sure the landlord treats people fairly from now on, I told them after class. Congratulations, said Mrs. Butler. You all really have made a difference. You should call yourself the Fair Housing Five. Back at the clubhouse, we celebrated and made plans. We should tell our families about fair housing, said Ricardo. And our friends at school, said James. Just then there was a knock at the door. Who could it be? Didn't they see our sign that said keep out? We couldn't let just anyone in. But then I remembered what it felt like to be turned away from a house I wanted to live in. If houses should be open to everyone, so should our clubhouse. I opened the door wide. Come on in, I said. My name's Samaria. We have some very important work to do today. Want to help? And that is the end.
Thank you for piling those up. And now as we move into our time of silent meditation, we will, if there are cares or concerns that you have that you want to share with the caring committee, and if there is a minutes card in the back of your chair, you're welcome to write those and put them in the offertory later on that comes around. And after the prayer, we will enter into a time of silence that will follow by singing Voice Still and Small. O creative spirit of life, in which we live and move and have our being, we give thanks for all of nature's bounties. We give thanks for caring friends and compassionate neighbors. We give thanks for the communion of those who seek to serve others. Each of us carries our private griefs and burdens. Sometimes we can share these, and for the open hearts which respond, we are grateful. Sometimes the world bears heavily upon us. We struggle alone, search the depths, and long for healing, for renewed hope, for strength, which gives us grace and peace. May we be strengthened in efforts to be of service, and may we always be mindful our lives are filled with privilege, success, and joy that are unavailable to many. May our prayer be that we always see clearly and keep before us the commandment to care. And may we try always to be inclusive and open, not exclusive and narrow. On this day and every day, may we give thanks, but let us also be dissatisfied with the world as it is, for a new world is waiting to be realized. May our spirits and bodies be nourished and nurtured as we give thanks and praise for all that sustains, heals, and holds all that is holy. Amen.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing in dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
Please remain seated and join me in our responsive reading, which is found on page 584 in your great hymnal or the QR code, the network of mutuality. I'll read the plain text so you can please respond to the italicized text. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. There are some things in our social system to which all of us should be maladjusted. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our low deeds which precipitate and perpetuate war.
One day we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant hope.
We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means.
We shall hew our homes on the posters.
Good morning. Yeah, let's try that again. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So growing up Unitarian in a predominantly Christian city and state, made my spiritual journey kind of difficult. It was kind of hard to navigate and reconcile my own spiritual upbringing with the world around, right? And my father, just for years, like your grandmother, helped kind of simplify this for me. He was on his own spiritual journey at the time. But he said, Abel, all of the religious texts that has ever been written in the history of the world comes down to one simple: love your neighbor. I want y'all to repeat after me. Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor. This one simple principle transcends all religious belief and dogma. Love your neighbor. All social movements, civil rights, slavery rights, women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights, all are guided by this one simple principle: love your neighbor. When the young Christian church was trying to find its way and its leaders were at odds with one another about how the church would be structured, John the Apostle stepped up and said, now I'm paraphrasing, what are we talking about? First, we have to love each other. How can we even begin to talk about how we love God if we don't love each other first? How can we love God who we cannot see and hate our fellow person who we can see? Let's start there. Before we start talking about circumcisions, baptisms, and all that jazz, let's talk about love our neighbor. Before we talk about the structure of our buildings, let's talk about how we structure our community. Almost 2,000 years later, in 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King called out his white colleagues in the church from a jail cell in Birmingham, Alabama, with a similar message. He says, if today's church is not recaptured, the sacrificial spirit of an early church, it will lose its authenticity, forfeit the loyalty of millions, and be dismissed as an irrelevant social club with no meaning in the 20th century. And as a Unitarian, we were ahead of the game. 2 years before Dr. King spoke those prophetic words, Unitarian Universalism was born. The Unitarians, the Universalists, two traditional Christian denominations with different interpretations of their Christian faith merged and separated from the Christian church because our forefathers believed that love your neighbor, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, superseded everything else.
Come on.
For better or for worse, our religious institutions build community. They shape us. They teach us how to show up in the world, and they teach us how to show up for each other. The question that humans have been grappling with for millennia is, in which way? Are our institutions building a community that is open and accepting, or closed off, siloed, and homogenous? Are they shaping us in love for our fellow human, or in judgment of our fellow human? Are we showing up in the world to agitate towards greater freedom and justice for all, or are we maintaining the status quo through our places? How are we showing up for each other? Is it only on Sundays, holidays, election days? Or are we building an institution that is based on a spiritual practice of developing trust and strengthening our interpersonal relationships? And that's what I want to talk to y'all about today. The spiritual practice of neighborliness. The power that can be built in this congregation, in this institution, through the practice of deeply getting to know one another. The power of knowing what makes each other who we are. The power of holding space for the challenges and struggles that we carry individually and building the structures to carry those individual struggles together. The power of loving our neighbor. Now I'm going to share a story that some of y'all heard me tell. I shared at the potluck a couple weeks ago. It's about kind of culture shock that I experienced when I moved to New Orleans a couple of years ago to take a job as an organizer. It was my first couple of weeks in town. I was at CC's Coffee in Esplanade, which was kind of off away from my office. And outside I passed this older black gentleman, and I spoke with a little head nod and playing on the team about my way going to the coffee shop. And he stopped. He shook my hand, looked in my eyes, and said, "What's going on? What's going on? How's your family?" Now, I'm from the South, so I'm used to Southern hospitality. But this interaction kind of took me by surprise. I asked myself, hold on, who is this man? How does he know me? So I responded politely, I'm good, I'm good, but where do I know you from? And his smile kind of dissipated into the kind of look of disappointment, like, I don't think you know what don't worry about it. I pondered that interaction stuck with me for a while. I pondered that interaction and my acceptance or reception of his question. What's going on? I was not used to someone, a stranger to that, showing that level of curiosity about my life. And I think many of us move life not thinking that anybody cares about what is going on with us. We're so consumed in our day-to-day, our bills, our work, our kids, our loved ones, that we miss countless opportunities to connect with our fellow human on a deeper research level. We rarely stop to ask ourselves, what's going on with us? But if asked in earnest, that's a powerful question. What's going on? What if our religious institutions foster a community that practices that kind of curiosity for each other? What if we took the time to ask each other and ourselves, what's going on? What are you going through? How can we be there for you so you don't have to go through all this alone? How can we share in each other's sorrows and joys and talents and challenges? What is our commitment to each other? How can we build a community that exists and persists beyond the walls of any building? Now, I'm humbled and honored that I've gotten an opportunity to get to know and build trust with many of you all. And that you all let me in your lives, in a sense. And share with me the struggles and the transitions that you all are dealing with individually and collectively. And I'm saying this morning that I feel you. I feel you. I've heard what's going on, and I feel you. I feel your anxiety about the future of the state under a new administration. I feel the anxiety about the future of New Orleans as climate change is creating more and intense weather conditions. I feel the longing to care for loved ones who are in other parts of the country. And I feel the anxiety about the future of this church. And I don't think we get prophetic as John the Apostle or Dr. King, but I'm telling y'all will get through this. And any other hard time that come before you. And in the words of record-breaking track star Sherry Richardson, y'all don't only bounce back, y'all bounce back better. Or maybe in the words of the prophet LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback. We've been here for years. I know that y'all don't get through this because the city needs you to get through this. The state needs you. In a time when doors were being closed and folks were being turned away and made feel like their body is not valued and deserve to be attacked, we need you. We need this space. We need this community. And in my experience and history with the Unitarian Church is any indicator, it is in these times when this church steps up, like Summarize, that everything in the store for lawyers. Like Summarize Clubhouse. Y'all open your doors and infinitely widen your welcoming circle and say, come on in. You're okay. You're enough. You are loved. And all of this great, deep, spiritual work starts right here in this congregation amongst each of you. Building and fostering a culture of deep curiosity and deep listening and deep learning and the development of the practice of asking each other a question. Can y'all say it?
What's going on?
What's going on? And with that I say, shalom, salam, ashe, amen. Peace, y'all.
Thank you so much for your role. And now, as generosity is a spiritual discipline, we practice our art of giving either by placing an offering in the collection plate or texting it to 504 608 700.
Blessed be our ministries and the world.
Please stand in body or spirit and join in our chalice extinguishing, which is in your order. Just in time. We extinguish this flame, what's left of it, but not the light of truth, the warmth of the community, or the fire of the wit.
These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please remain as you are and join in singing our closing hymn, number 1008, in the Teal hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.